Some people are destined in stories to change the world, save a species, or maybe just defeat the big bad guy. Every now and then you have a character that is literally born to save the planet, that is only allowed to survive to be part of a major plan to defeat the great evil something or other. This is the case of Ender Wiggin, whose birth is only sanctioned to defeat the alien race known as the Buggers. I'm Ollamh, and welcome to Geek Trivia. So to set the scene for the series, the human race is in severe danger of overpopulating the Earth. So families are limited to a 2-child limit. Also, they've discovered, by means of 2 separate attacks, that they are not the only species in the universe. Thus, children who show promise are tested, and if their scores are good, taken into an off-planet battle school to help train for the planetary military to fight and defeat the ant-like species known as the Buggers. This brings us to the Wiggin family. Having already reached their 2-child limit, both of whom were tested and found lacking for military service, they were allowed by the world government to have a 3rd child in hopes that they would produce a child that would combine the best of both previous children. Thus they give birth to Andrew, known as Ender because his sister couldn't originally pronounce his name properly. Ender had trouble growing up, as his brother Peter was a sadistic, mean child who enjoyed torturing him and pretty much anyone or anything he could get his hands on. His one saving grace was his sister Valentine, who was much kinder to him and empathetic to others. It was these qualities, in fact, that disqualified them for entry into the battle school. Ender had the right mixture of both. The empathy of Valentine to understand others and know their intent and weaknesses, but the cruelty and brutality of Peter to take decisive action and put someone out of commission so that they cannot hurt him again. In fact, right after his observation stage of the examination, a schoolmate started to beat up on him, and Ender wound up killing the kid. This got him a place in battle school, even though he wasn't of proper age. This was because the heads of the military and the school had a plan already in progress that was on a tight time schedule, and they couldn't wait for him to grow up to proper age. So they brought Ender into battle school and set him up to face accelerated challenges. These included being isolated from other children, put into an army where he wasn't being trained or even allowed to fight, put in charge of his own army with an unfair fight schedule, and even fighting hand-to-hand against a foe, resulting again in him killing said foe. Neither time he caused the death of a person was he ever told about this. They wanted to encourage the possibility, but not destroy Ender completely by letting him know that he had killed another human being. Once Ender had decided that he had had enough of their games, they returned him to Earth. With the help of Valentine, Colonel Graff convinced Ender to come back and take his place in command school. Here, Ender was put in charge of a fleet in mock battles, each with worse odds and tougher decisions. Again, Ender proved that he could handle the task, though it was wearing him down bit by bit. He decided finally that the next fight would be his last. Thankfully for the Earth and humanity, that was all that was needed. Once the battle was won, they informed Ender and his team that all of their battles were real. By use of a piece of technology known as the Ansible, they were actually sending commands to a fleet sent into Bugger space right after the second invasion. This is why they weren't able to let Ender grow to a proper age. The relativistic nature of near light speed travel meant that they needed a commander who could understand and defeat the buggers, and fast. This is how Ender fulfilled his destiny and the purpose for which he was allowed to even be born. He saved the human race. Ender doesn't react well. The knowledge that he just led the fleet to wipe out an entire alien species causes him to fall unconscious and stay that way for a long while. During this time, the nations of the Earth, without a common enemy, fall back into fighting for supremacy among themselves. It's Ender's brother Peter, using an alias, that manages to end the hostilities. But he also made the decision that Ender could not return to the Earth. Each nation would do whatever they could to force him to lead their army. So Ender, with his sister Valentine, joined the first colony ship to take over a bugger planet. It was here that Ender discovered that there is a single bugger egg, a hive queen egg to be specific. Through his connection with the Ansible, the hive queen is able to communicate with him and explain that buggers were a hive mind and didn't recognize humanity as individuals. They realized this after the second invasion and had decided against further aggression. This led Ender to deciding to find a planet where the buggers could start new, and to help get humanity to understand the buggers, he wrote a book under the name Speaker for the Dead called The Hive Queen. Eventually, humanity came to revile Ender for committing xenocide. He was able to travel unimpeded because he traveled for so long at near-light speeds that everyone assumed him dead. Finally, he found a planet that would work, one that already had its own alien species, commonly referred to as the Piggies. The planet was actually home to two alien species, the Piggies and a virus that was harmful to any other species, known as the Descolata. The buggers worked with the Piggies in return for giving them access to space travel, which did not go over well with the human galactic government. It is at this point that Ender proves that his destiny isn't complete yet. The human government had decided to send a ship to destroy the Piggies' home planet, as allowing them to expand out from the planet could cause the end of humanity. Through some strange occurrences, Ender helps to create the inert version of the virus, helping the Piggies, the buggers, and humanity stay safe. He also winds up creating splinter versions of himself, his darker side taking the form of a young version of his brother Peter, and his lighter side as a younger version of his sister Valentine. While Valentine helps to find inhabitable planets and move groups of Piggies and buggers to them, his Peter version goes to try and convince the human government to abort the destruction of the Piggies' home planet. Shortly before Ender's death, the Peter version convinces the government to abort their plan and even steps in to make sure that humanity doesn't kill off either the Piggies or the buggers' species. He proves that humanity has not ever actually committed xenocide, so has still maintained its relative innocence. As his original body dies, the light and dark sides of himself combine in the body of Peter, while another life form takes over the young Valentine's body. In this way, Ender, or the main parts of his younger self, get a new chance at life, inhabiting Peter more or less as he was before being taken to the battle school, but also fulfilling his purpose in life. Not only saving the human race from destruction, but also saving the human race's humanity, which would have been lost if they'd committed xenocide, making it an easier decision in the future. So that's an overview of the life and times of Ender Wiggin. Allowed to be born to save the human race, he went above and beyond what anyone could have hoped for. Making sure the human race exists enabling it to expand beyond Earth and allowing it to maintain its innocence by proving that they haven't completely destroyed any alien species. What do you think about the character? Do you think that bringing the buggers back to the universe was a good idea? Do you believe that humanity in such a position would have made a different choice? Do you think that the message of the books is void because of the author's very public opinions and stances? I'm always interested in what people think of the topics chosen. So please, if you have something to say, leave a comment down below, send us a tweet, or post on our Facebook page, and let's discuss Ender. As always, thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to prod the subscribe button down below so that you can stay tuned for more from Ollamh Productions.
If you wanna see some crazy, you should meet me and my friends. Even though we got no
So yes, there's the military base. Yay! I'm gonna do something incredibly stupid.
When they report that the boy in the well is requesting root beer barrels, Joe just knows that it's Pee-wee, because that was the first thing they